And I'm Dave.
And this is Preview with a Prior,
The show where we speculate about the upcoming episode of Better Call Saul.
Often incorrectly. Dave, so good to be with you, my friend. It is lunchtime on Friday, and we are going to do our best to knock out Preview with a Prior. Jeff is in a car somewhere between Chicago and Nashville, Tennessee, so he won't be joining us today. So I guess with that, let's get right into it with some online correspondence, and then we'll give our predictions of the upcoming episode, and then we'll wrap this puppy up, all right?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, here we go. These are some of the best online correspondence comments from the past week since episode 305 aired, which, by the way, a lot of people still talking about episode 305.
It was a pretty fantastic episode, so yeah, it should. Keep doing it. Right.
All right. From the TV Showtime app, Sherry Palmisano. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Sherry Palmisano. If I butcher that, I apologize. You're not the only one I've done that to. She says, so the truth comes out. Chuck has always been looking for a way to take away Jimmy's law license. If it had been anyone else, he would have just let Mesa Verde go and moved on.
No.
You don't think so?
No. I think maybe he is more hardcore about it because it's Jimmy, but I think he would have done this no matter what happened because he knew. I mean, he's right.
Right. Yeah, I'd say Jimmy, I would agree. I would say that Chuck would still try to destroy anybody that messed with him like that, but is just a little bit more intense because it's his brother.
Right. I think it adds to it, but I don't. So I guess it would be different if it weren't Jimmy, but he'd still be pursuing to clear everything and bring those evil doers to justice.
From the TV Showtime app again, F. Qureshi. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I don't really know how to make the sound of when there's an F and a Q together, so I'm gonna assume this is a like an abbreviated screen name. So for Qureshi, F. Qureshi. He says, "Awesome podcast. Loved your guys' insight. One thing I noticed you missed mentioning, which I found quite interesting, is that it was the prosecutor guy mentioning mental illness that seemed to cause Chuck to go into his rant." I don't think so.
I did notice though that as soon as that came out, then the prosecutor guy switched over and said mental illness because that has come to light. So maybe that did, but I don't think that's what necessarily triggered Chuck. But maybe that's part of his I got to say something now because people think I'm slipping.
Yeah, I it did kind of catch my ear when he said you have to admit you sound unhinged.
Right.
And I think that kind of took me off guard too, because I was like, would they say unhinged in a sterile legal setting?
I think so.
That sounds almost. Really? You think so?
I guess it seemed like the prosecutor guy was being very, what's the word? Objective, and was making sure about, he would ask things that a normal if he was really representing Chuck, he wouldn't ask. He was kind of attacking both sides. But he didn't say mental illness until after the battery incident, correct? Which I think that's what he was driving at, the commenter.
Gotcha. Okay, well, F. Qureshi, I hope I didn't trash your name, but thank you for listening to us and commenting on the TV Showtime app.
I'm more happy that you said it was an awesome podcast and we have insight.
Yeah, solid. Thank you. Danny Goodman actually wrote us an old-fashioned email. How's that for shit?
Oh, my gosh. Did you have to buy a stamp for that?
He says, first of all, Michael McKean will get an Emmy nomination for this episode. A lot of people have been saying that.
Yeah, this might. I think so, man. He's killing it this year.
Well, good. I hope so. He nailed it, and particularly that last scene.
Oh, God.
He says, Danny goes on to say, I sense the buzzing exit sign marks a major turning point for the series, at least for the non-Mike storyline. Possible exits. Jimmy becomes Saul, which is, obviously a given.
Exit.
Chuck gets out of law, or at least Hamlin McGill.
Exit.
Jimmy will get out of Chuck's life.
Exit.
He says Chuck might conquer his disease thanks to Jimmy.
That would be interesting because I think some people think it's gonna drive him farther, and some people think that he might have to face it. I do have comments on it for my predictions.
Yeah, I guess I never considered that before, but we've talked about how their back and forth is always like with a little dose of like it'll be better for the other guy.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if like that's how they come to like an understanding or at least like some sort of reconciliation, is if Chuck just kind of comes to terms that it's all in his head and kind of moves on because of the way Jimmy put him on blast, as the kids are saying nowadays.
That's true, but Jimmy wasn't keeping it 100, so I don't know if they're really going to reconcile.
Semicolon and parenthesis. Danny goes on to say he doesn't want this one, but he thinks Chuck might take his own life as a final dig at Jimmy. That'd be the ultimate vindictive move. Like, this is your fault.
And something Jeff had said, I think, is a joke, but I mean, why not? It's dark. I mean, Vince Gilligan does just some dark things.
Yeah, I don't know. That just seems like a little bit too intense, I guess, for Better Call Saul. But who knows?
It's a little Baroque, wouldn't you think? Also, missed a great opportunity to talk about how you and I are actually both Baroque. Our podcast is quite Baroque.
From Twitter, MH Duncan says, just because Chuck has a mental condition, how does that absolve him from the charges? Like, how does that absolve Jimmy if Chuck is insane?
I think we definitely got wrapped up in this in the in episode 305. Jimmy messing with Mesa Verde is not the issue. The only things that they are concerned with in this trial is breaking the tape and breaking into Chuck's house.
Right.
So it wouldn't absolve Jimmy.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it might protect him from when he does pursue the Mesa Verde tampering. Now it's word against word, and Chuck is showing that he's crazy.
I don't think it's an absolution that they're looking for. It's just Jimmy is looking to avoid getting disbarred.
Yes.
So just because they go through a disciplinary hearing and he admits to doing what he did doesn't mean that he'll be disbarred, because by putting the case in whatever context he wants, he's saying to the bar, like, yeah, I did this, but this was the reason for doing so. Can you blame me? Like, I was driven to this.
Right, yeah.
Like I was driven to this, so you shouldn't disbar me because I'm guilty. You shouldn't disbar me because I was forced to make this move. I was forced to do this.
Well, and also column A, column B, because that combined with avoiding going to trial for tampering with the Mesa Verde information, because that will definitely get him disbarred too.
Yep. From Twitter, Mall of America, our buddy, says in the It's All Good Men recap, Howard Hamlin sensed Chuck's illness would factor in. That's not a surprise. The store manager should have also been on the list.
Yeah, we went back and forth on this for a while, actually, Mall of America and I. And I guess he was calling it kind of a plot hole, and I was thinking more of it was a character flaw on Chuck's part. Like his hubris wouldn't allow him to think that his mental capacity would come into question, so he wouldn't have to bring in the copy shop guy because the copy shop guy isn't related to the situation in Chuck's house. You know what I mean? But he seems to he thinks that Chuck should have the foresight to think Jimmy's going to attack his mental capacity and should have covered all of his bases. But in this case, then he should have had Ernesto in too.
All right. Aaron Taylor from Twitter says, this wasn't the first mention of the other Hamlin. Howard mentioned his father bringing him into the firm to add another H when Kim left Hamlin McGill. I
don't remember that. Stop being smarter than us.
Eddie Quinones from Twitter. Eddie, if I mispronounced your name, I am so sorry. But Eddie Quinones says, season 2, when Kim resigns to hang up her own shingle, Howard says he's envious. He thought of doing that, but stayed with his dad's firm. I think I vaguely remember this. I think what happened is because you and I talked to Patrick Fabian and he said he doesn't have any idea who the other, he was like, well, it's kind of up in the air right now. I think how we took it was, I think what might have been our thought at the time is like, even though it's Hamlin, McGill, our talk with Patrick Fabian kind of swayed us the other way, and like the other H might not necessarily be his dad. So like, yeah, he might have wanted to strike out on his own and stay with his dad, and then later created Hamlin, McGill. That might have been our thinking. I would have to go back and listen to the episodes. If not, that's totally something Dave and I missed. But it's weird because I kind of I remember that from season 2, but I also remember Patrick Fabian telling us that, like he kind of avoided the question. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, who do you think it is? You know what I mean?
Well, I thought that was from like the season 1 chat.
It might have been. I don't know. I just remember it happening. That's a long time ago. But either way, if that's true, totally good catch. And Dave and I have been waiting for the answer to a question that we should have known for at least a year. So,
which isn't the first time in our lives we've been in that situation. So,
right, yeah, it's something we've been known to do. From
I think
time
last
to time.
time I said, "Mommy, do you love me?" I had to wait over a year for the answer. So,
Poor Dave. Poor Dave. All right. So, predictions for episode 306, which is called Off Brand. If you look at the next time on Better Call Saul.
I forgot to watch that. Damn it.
I watched it, but nothing struck me as too memorable. But they had a preview scene for the next episode, and Crazy 8 enters the Winking Greek restaurant, has a chat with Nacho, and he's short on the money for his payment. Nacho says, "You're short. How come you're not making it up on your end?" Crazy 8 comes back with, he doesn't have the money right now, but he'll make sure to make up for it next week. And Nacho kind of lets him off the hook, and he's like, all right, next week, pay me the money, right? So while all this transpires, Hector is actually reading a newspaper in the background, and after Crazy 8 leaves the restaurant, Hector says, who's the boss? Or who's the boss of who? Basically saying that Nacho should have probably put a stop to that and demanded his money right at that moment to gain their respect.
That, or he should have deferred to Hector instead of just making the decision, right?
Maybe, but like that would make Nacho look weak.
True.
That's a weak. That's a weak proposition. As he is the boss because Crazy 8 is part of his crew. So Nacho probably pays up to Hector.
I'm like thinking about what I mean? When Don Eladio had Hector kill Max over being presumptuous.
Right, but Don Eladio is Hector's boss. That'd be like me if I have a problem with one of my mainline employees. Instead of taking care of it myself, I go to my district manager and say, hey, could you take care of this guy because he keeps clocking in late? You know what I mean?
Wait, so you're saying Hector was implying that Crazy 8 was the boss over Nacho? Not Nacho was the boss over Hector?
Hector was implying that Nacho is weak on his guys.
Okay.
So he's saying he doesn't have the respect that he should from Crazy 8 because Crazy 8 blatantly did not pay him his full money.
Right. I thought you meant Hector was pissed because Nacho went over Hector's head and let him slide.
No. Hector said, who's the boss of who? Because his point was Nacho should have put a stop to it right there and got his fucking money, but he didn't. He went along with the whole like, oh yeah, you can pay it next week instead of demanding the money like a true boss.
Well, that's a good boss. Right? I mean, sometimes you have to do that for it's an investment in the long term instead of like forcing somebody to come up with the money now, which may in the short term or may kind of screw things over in the long term. You just kind of let it slide, so it's a long term investment. You'll get your money in the back end, right?
Yeah, but I don't think traditionally, cartels are worried about the repercussions from human resources. I think they're more kind of old school and hands on. So anyway, interesting scene. It'll be great to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
The official synopsis from AMC from episode 306 is Jimmy embarks on a new endeavor while Chuck pushes himself to the limit. Nacho finds himself ensnared in a power struggle. So there you go. So we talked about the power struggle. Jimmy embarks on a new endeavor.
I think he's going camping in the Adirondacks.
With a backpack full of money, or with a gym bag full of money?
I don't know. That's a tease. I think that's a tease. I don't think it's, I don't think he's going to change his lawing personality yet.
No, I think it probably makes like starts pushing him more towards moving from elder law to criminal defense. Yeah,
maybe
he'll finally get an office.
Heyo, in a strip mall.
Yeah. Chuck pushes
he has an office. He shares a space with Kim.
Yeah, but like the office that we all know and have seen before, I think is where he'll probably go.
I think he's going to become Saul first.
Okay. Chuck pushes himself to the limit.
Okay, this was a note that I had for my predictions. Mm-hmm. Two things. One, I think Chuck's still going to deny it at first, but then Rebecca's going to help sway him, and then he's going to start to realize Rebecca's actually the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I am predicting that for some reason I have this scene playing out in my head where it's like Chuck and Jimmy are talking, and Chuck's like, so how long have you known? Like, when did you figure it out? That whole typical scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy has to explain, like, I figured it out a while ago, but blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. I think, I actually think for the next episode, we're going to see a lot of Mike and Nacho.
That's exactly my next note is we're going to be a lot of Nacho/Mike interaction. And that's the end of my notes.
Yeah, I think what they'll probably do is let us hang for a little bit off of the ending of, if anything, it'll be like a 3-minute scene. And then just to like restore the balance of the use of characters in the show, they'll switch focus for a bit to Mike and Nacho and that whole storyline and let everybody just sit on what transpired in 305.
Right. You know what would be a cool thing to do is to start trying to predict what the opening scene is going to be.
Okay. I think the opening scene will be oh, you know what? Actually, in the next time on Better Call Saul, there was like a short, brief clip of Hamlin talking to Chuck and telling him that he's at a crossroads. So I would bet that's the next opening scene. I bet the opening scene will take place actually a few minutes or a short amount of time after the last scene of 305, and we won't hear the verdict of whether or not Jimmy is disbarred, but it'll be part of Jimmy and Chuck's conversation, of Hamlin and Chuck's conversation, where Hamlin is telling him, hey, you're at a crossroads, man. You're kind of losing it. You're kind of losing touch a bit. You need to step back. Plus, remember, Hamlin told Chuck not to take the stand, and Chuck was determined to. Mm-hmm. So it'll probably be the heart to heart where Hamlin's like, look, this is me and my father's firm. You're really kind of starting to fuck shit up.
Okay. I see that scene happening, but I don't see that as the opening scene.
Fuck you then. No.
Well, the opening scene is never linear. It's never directly related to the same timeline, as it were. It's always something to introduce, like, the theme of the episode, right?
Typically, I think.
To set some things up. So I'm going to say the opening scene is going to be a scene between Jimmy. No, they just did the scene between Jimmy and Chuck. So I'll say it's going to be something about Mike. Does they ever do opening scenes with Mike? I'm going to say it has something to do with Mike. Mike's going to be in the cold open.
Okay. Awesome. Maybe Mike devises another plan, or maybe it'll be like another heist of Hector's trucks.
Yeah, maybe.
Because remember, as long as Mike doesn't kill Hector, he kind of has the okay from Gus to keep messing with him.
True, but I don't think it's going to be anything in the current timeline. That's the thing. It's going to be something, either a flashback or a flash forward. But they're usually flashbacks. Well, I don't know. But then again, the one where Chuck was waiting for Jimmy to break in was a current opening scene. Mm-hmm. So I stand corrected on that.
Okay, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Before we sign off, I just want to tell you guys of something cool that's happening right now. I made a comment about how I wish there was a way for people in in overseas from where we're at to maybe win some prizes. And I don't have the details at 100% right now, but I'll probably announce them next week. But one of our listeners has a company that prints T-shirts, and he's based in the UK. So he's going to print up 5 T-shirts, and we'll be able to give them away. They'll have our logo on them. We'll be able to give them away as prizes to some of our United Kingdom listeners, which is super solid on his part.
Yeah.
I don't want to announce his name and company and everything yet, just because I want to make sure it's 100%
Right.
go. But keep on the lookout for that. Way cool that our listeners are kind of looking out for each other.
We have the best listeners.
Totally. So anybody from Australia or Europe, if you guys have some sort of business and want to put together a contest for people in your area of the world, please reach out and do so. Make sure to download the TV Showtime app and check out the Better Call Saul community on there. It's super awesome. Make sure to check out the Nothing Important podcast at nothingimportantpodcast.com. We just recorded with Patricia Somerset, who is the voice of Zelda in the brand new game Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Super, super fun chick. It was great talking with her. Make sure to keep an eye out next week. Jeff and I will be releasing A Plumbus Among Us, the Rickest Rick and Morty podcast. Make sure to check that out. And of course, make sure to look for us as the credit rolls on episode 306 Monday night. The only podcast to be out there as the credits roll. If we were any faster, we would be live. Jeff and Dave, Patrick Fabian is on the Someone Important hotline. Patrick, thanks for joining us again.
Hey, Patrick.
Absolutely. I love being on the Someone Important hotline.
What's up, Patrick?
How
Patrick
you
is
doing,
now.
guys?
Excellent.
We're doing great. Patrick, I think you're now tied with comedian Owen Benjamin as a person who's wasted the most time speaking with us. So congratulations to that.
You know what? I'll take that honor. Does it come with a paper cap or a crown of some sorts? I would imagine somewhere along the line. There's got to be something left over from Chuck E. Cheese's or medieval times you guys got lying around the house, right?
Yeah,
I think I have
I'm-
I have a plastic submarine from the Museum of Science and Industry I can send your way.
We are, me and my wife, we are moving houses, so we're packing up the old house, and I found like a big wad of Mardi Gras bees from like 1998, which we don't have any idea where they came from because I've never been to Mardi Gras, especially not in high school. So I could probably send those to you if you like.
You know, you just said Mardi Gras beads and already my shirt's off, so I'm doing this interview topless.
Oh, I know.
Fantastic.
This is why we should have done the video chat, Dave. You need to get that all set up and ready to go.
Next time, nothing excites women more than 50-year-old men taking their shirts off.
You know, it's funny you bring that up. Dave and I a while ago did an interview with Billy Procida from the Man Horror podcast, and he was shirtless when he came on the video chat. It was
Really?
kind of awkward. Yeah. I was like,
You know,
all right.
that's bold and a little alarming all at the same time.
Yeah, nipple game was on point though. He owned it.
All right.
Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to podcast the video, so the video is always lost. It's just the audio that we share.
Yeah.
That was more for
Just
just for us.
You have to take my word for it. It was glorious. So
Send me an Instagram of it, yeah.
Patrick, season 3, wonderful job so far in season 3. I've seen the first 2 episodes, but I don't think Dave or Jeff has yet. So I'm probably going to leave them in the dark talking a little bit. But one thing I have to say that I love about Howard Hamlin is his Superman stance. Whenever he's standing, it's always very proper and like arms to the side, like just ready to rock.
Well, you know, some people say it's ready to rock. It's Howard's version of being a predator animal, I think. Other people would say it's what people look like when they have a stick up their ass. So it all depends on what your perspective is.
In episode 2, and this isn't really a spoiler, guys, but in episode 2, there's a scene where you're hopping over fences and you're running through backyards. Did Did you do all that yourself? Did you hop the fence and run through the yard
Let's
yourself?
call it what, gentlemen. Let's call it was. Did I attempt those dangerous stunts all on my own?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes, I did. And it's funny because when they'd written it in, they actually gave me a call out at the beginning to say like, "Hey, we might having you do these things." And I was like, "Well, sure, that seems like no problem." But it's a fair question because they're like, "You're going to be in your suit," and I'm like, "Oh, right." And they're like, in the end, when we started doing it, and this is blowing my own horn a little bit, but Vince was like, he goes, "Now remember," he goes, "I know you do triathlons and you're actually in shape. We can't have you just vault over them like it's the Olympics." and I thought that was really cute because then we go standing next to this wall, and I'm like, it's like a 7-foot concrete wall or an 8-foot concrete wall. I'm like, what do you think I'm going to vault over? Are you out of your mind? So it ended up being really good. We only had 2 suits because I was worried about, scraping knees and sort of bruising. I was most worried about Jennifer Bryan, who makes my suits, having a shit fit of me, like, ripping them, because the suits are worth more than me on the show, monetarily, without a doubt. So, but I have to say, it was even on the day, it was sort of ridiculous because I was literally like, well, Howard's going over the wall and doing this thing. So I'm just doing my thing. I thought, well, this is an easy day, right? There's no acting involved. I'm literally just having to vault walls and go. And Video Village was cracking up. And I was like, what's so funny? And they're like, oh, it's funny watching you come over a wall. I'm curious to see the final results. I know there was a little bit in the trailer that's already out. And some people on the interweb have already gotten very excited about wanting to make some sort of meme out of it. So we'll see. We'll see exactly what goes on.
Well, I can say personally that it came out really well, and I love at the end, Howard, because like I said, I always interpret the character as not really so much cocky, just always in game mode, just like ready to go, like with the Superman stances. And I loved after it was like the second or third wall or however many number of walls it was, he just instantly went back to, straight in the suit. Like, all right, business over. And then just continues on his way. It was very Terminator-esque.
There's a bit of an apex predator in him without a doubt. And also, given, can we talk about the episode a little bit?
I'm fine.
Right?
I'm going to watch it tonight. And I've seen the first one. So
yeah, okay, great. Well, then I'm not too much. This is more just tonally. I find it very interesting that he's willing to go to those lengths. The reason he's doing the wall stuff is still in deference to Chuck. He's still indebted or obligated or respects or whatever you want to do, whatever his obligation is to Chuck, is still so intact that he is willing to do that kind of action in that kind of suit. And so by the time he gets over the final wall, you're right. He immediately sort of puts that unpleasantness of wall vaulting behind him, straightens his suit, and it's time to get to business. Because then the business at hand is almost in direct opposition to the action that he's taken, right? Mm-hmm. He's gone to great lengths to appease Chuck, but instead he's actually delivering news to Chuck that is not appeasing him. So I find it interesting that, the writers gave me this sort of great gift and a bit of insight of saying well, if you're going to deliver this particular news that may not sit well with Chuck, then why are you deferring to him in your method of getting to his house? And the fact is, you know what I mean? Right? You just drive up and come to the front door, but he doesn't. And I think that is very much a key and a clue into what he thinks about Chuck or what he thinks he owes Chuck.
Yeah, and the beauty of episode 2, there's actually quite a bit of actual comedy in it. And what I loved about that particular scene coming over the walls and such is when it's all said and done, I was like, I looked at my wife because she watches it with me. I'm like, was that unnecessary that he chose that route to get there? So I don't know if it was necessarily unnecessary, but it makes you question that. Like you said, just the way that it plays out is absolutely beautiful and very well
thanks.
done.
I'm glad you like it. And also on a practical note, when Vince called, he goes, yeah, so we're going to be doing this. And I see the schedule. And I'm like, well, this is me hopping over a wall. How fucking long could this possibly take? And they've got 6 hours scheduled out. And I'm like, what the hell? And then we get there, and it dawns on me. One, you're working with Vince Gilligan as a director, who's meticulous and detail-oriented. he wants to shoot it from the squirrel's point of view. You know what I mean? And so he's not even sure how he's going to capture it on the day. Like, he has an idea, absolutely, of what he sort of thinks he wants, but he's always open to, once you stand in the space, wherever the muses take you. And so all of a sudden it was like, a camera is up in a jungle gym. It's sitting next to a rose bush. And it gets said, are you okay on doing this? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine on doing this. And so once you stake that claim and plant that flag of like, dude, I totally got this. It's just a wall vault. And then you realize about, 10, 15 takes in, you're like, oh, my arms are fucking hurting. But you can't back down. Now you're the asshole in the suit who said, no, I'm fine. So it ended up being a really, really fun morning.
So last time we chatted, we brought up the question to you, who is the second Hamlin? Do you think we're ever going to find that out? That remains to be seen, and I still have my opinions about who that should be. There's lots happening this season, so you never know. We all want to know who that second H is just as long as he doesn't take any of my money. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Fair enough. And then the last thing I had for you is last time we spoke, when you got on the phone, your children were wreaking havoc. So just on a personal note, how's the family? How's the wife and kids?
Oh, my 4 and 6-year-old daughter, they don't have any opinions about anything. It's really great. When Daddy speaks, that's the final word in the house. This is how my life is right now. It's spring break for the kids, and they almost got into a fist fight deciding if we were going to go see Boss Baby or Beauty and the Beast today. And I was suggesting going to the beach. And they were like, no! And I'm like, oh, that's great. I've raised children that scream at the idea of going into nature. Good for me.
Yeah,
but they're great. My wife's great. She's a writer-director, so she's out pitching TV. We're doing a short film this weekend at the house. So it's a very busy, artistic house. The kids might actually be in the movie this time. So we'll see. It's all good. It's all good. I got no complaints.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear everything's going great. And, once again, great performance so far in season 2 from what I've seen. And I know Dave had a question for you about some of your other projects.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could discuss Driver X at all. I see you've been promoting that a lot, and looks like it's finishing development.
Driver X, hopefully, we're going to be getting into the LA Film Festival. We are waiting on the word this week, as a matter of fact, nice. And then in which case we would have the premiere there, which would be great. So film is locked. It's been sweetened. It's been a long process because it's a low budget film. And so, people have other jobs in between and all that sort of thing. But I saw the latest cut, and it's been interesting watching it because one of our first cuts was a director's cut, i.e. very bloated. We kept sort of everything in. And it was long. It was like, almost 2.5 hours. Like we were making some sort of French student film from 1968. We're like, look, I like looking at me, but not even for 2.5 hours. And so, you bring an outside editor in to sort of take a look at the pile of what you have. And it was interesting to have some new eyes come in and be like, oh, I know you think your movie's this, but your movie's actually this.
Right.
And so now we've got a cut that's about 90 minutes. It's sharp, it's fast, it's good, it's got good music, and I'm really thrilled. So I'm hoping the premiere is going to be the LA Film Festival sometime in June, but I can't say or announce that officially, at least for like another week and a half. If not, then we're moving on to some other distributors that we have it lined up. So it's all going good, and it's looking good, and it's finally found itself a good size and a good running time.
Awesome, yeah. Hope it goes well.
That's wonderful. I hope when it has a proper release and everything is all set and you're off and running with it, I hope you come back on our Nothing Important podcast and chat about it with us.
Oh, absolutely. But on a side note, I just got back from Vancouver working on a show called Lucifer, which is on Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't know about it because, I got young kids, so I know about Jake and the Neverland Pirates. But I guess Lucifer's been on. It's part of the Marvel Universe. And so I went up there blind, not knowing anything about it. And they are such a fun cast. I had such a blast. And the show just got picked up for 22 more episodes. And nice. So they're thrilled. Right. Tom Ellis plays Lucifer, and he's great. And I got a big, fat guest star in every scene in the episode. And I'm not sure when that's coming out. It may come out sometime in May or June. I'm not sure of their schedule, but it's Lucifer, and I'm in it, and I'm really thrilled.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Follow-up question.
And just go ahead, Dave.
Follow-up question. Have you heard Disturbed's cover of Sound of Silence?
Okay.
I can't say that I have.
Okay.
We were discussing this earlier, and I said that we should ask you about it.
'Cause I would be the one who knows.
This is a tiebreaker.
Yeah, that's all.
So, I work in an office space with a bunch of different lawyers and such, and that's actually where I'm recording right now. And every once in a while, somebody will see me with a microphone at work and stuff, and they ask what I do. And so like it's now out in the open that I do these podcasts, because I usually used to never let anybody know, but now everybody around here knows. And I was like, oh well, I got to go take my lunch break because we're gonna chat with Patrick Fabian from Better Call Saul. And one of the random interns goes, Patrick Fabian, wasn't that guy on Saved by the Bell? And you were on Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, no, I'm Professor Lasky for a lot of people until I'm dead. As a matter of fact, when I die, on my tombstone, it will say he kissed Kelly Kapowski. That's pretty much it.
And I believe the math works out. You were 29.
What's that?
You were 29 and she was 19. So how awesome was that?
If you're trying to get a half chub while talking to me, go right ahead. Yes,
All right.
29. She was 18. And it was legal, FYI, for anybody who's listening, in case the feds or the NSA is on this. Yes, I did, as a matter of fact. And there was, I'm on the show, and I get all this. I can't believe I haven't told you this before. So I get on the show, and they air a couple of episodes, and I start getting like garbage bags full of mail that say, "You're so cute, Professor Lasky. I love your hair, Professor Lasky. I want to be an anthropology, Professor Lasky." And then I kiss Kelly Kapowski, Tiffany Amber Thiessen on the show. And of course, that breaks up Zach and her, the long-standing relationship. And so then the next week, I get like twice as much mail saying, "I hate you. Your hair is awful. How dare you?"
You son of a bitch.
Today, I walk through airports, and airports are my favorite. That's really my wheelhouse. If the world comes to an end, I'm going to just move to an airport, because I go and all the dudes who are working the fast food joints and whatnot, they're all like, "Yo, you kissed Kelly Kapowski." And I'm like, "Yeah, word." I put my hand up in the Black Power fist, and I keep walking. And the girls who see me are like, oh, you're Professor Lasky. So they get excited because they first had a crush, and then it immediately, like a turd in the salad, they go, oh, you're Professor Lasky. And I'm like, I get it. Yes, I violated everything. Sorry.
That's fantastic.
I'm so glad I brought that up now.
That's why.
Absolutely. And you know, who is it? Is that intern a young lady or a young man?
It was a young man.
The young man. Well, you tell him that even though it's about 25 years old, that kiss is better than any kiss he's ever going to have in his life.
How does he know? How does an intern know about a show 25 years ago?
Well, you know what? Because TNT and TBS reran it in like 2-hour blocks.
Oh, that's right.
For about 20 years.
Yeah, that's
so.
Cool.
There was this wave. I always called it like an entry level sitcom, because when you're like 11, 12, and 13 or 14, these are all safe archetypes in a very sort of safe thing. Like your mom would let you watch it because they'd make fun of Screech, but they'd eventually say, "You're our friend."
Right.
It was kind of sexual, but nothing ever really happened. And so,
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was something that like a 12-year-old could own as their show, as their own adult show. And I used to call it the bag of chips show. You'd come home from school and you'd open up a bag of potato chips and you'd watch 2 episodes of Saved by the Bell, and then you go do your thing. So consequently, for like 20 years, everybody who was turning 12 would see Tiffany and be like, "Well, that's cute," or they'd see Paul Gosser and go, "That's cute." I mean, the only weird thing is that Mario Lopez literally hasn't changed. He's exactly the same as he was back in 1992.
He's a wax mannequin.
Yeah.
He's a wax mannequin. Tell you what, he can out-crunch you and me. When the Holocaust, when the apocalypse comes, he'll be doing crunches and you'll be beaten. That's not gonna happen.
Very true. Very true.
Well, Patrick, it's an absolute honor to have you on. I guess this will be It's All Good, Man, on It's All Good, Man, and we're looking forward to have you on the Nothing Important podcast. And real quick, Dave and I were actually throwing around the idea of starting a podcast with you called Jib Jab with the P-Fab.
I tell you what, you get an appropriate logo, I'm on board.
All right.
We can make it like a monthly show. once a month. We'll Jib Jab with P-Fab.
I'll fire up my MS Paint skills shortly. And
Let me know what you got, man.
all right, Patrick Fabian, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, gents. I'll see you later in the season. All right.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so there was the actual hang-up noise. All right, Patrick Fabian, always a pleasure.
Awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
He's just like the happiest, nicest guy ever, right?
Right. That's
Like,
the kind
and-
of people that are successful, man. Just really, really good people. Like, the more people we run into like this, it just reaffirms it, man. They're just some cool people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope you enjoyed our chat with Patrick Fabian, Howard Hamlin from Better Call Saul. And make sure to subscribe and keep listening to It's Saul Goodman, the Better Call Saul podcast. And
keep an eye out for Driver X because it does look pretty cool. I like the idea of the plot, and I want to see him in that starring role.
absolutely.
It's all